Welcome, fellow last places, to another episode of LPF Debrief, where Chris and I talk about comic books, movies, and TV shows. And on today's episode, we will be discussing Moon Knight, episode 4, exclusive to Disney Plus. And I forgot to do where I credit the directors because I don't know. I need to stop doing that, but I will get those names for you. Free have Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, the normals. By this time, if you're on episode 4, you know who's in the show. So there's that. And we're gonna start every episode the same way we always do by shaming Yendi for not watching any of the content that we watch.
Shame.
Shame. And we're gonna have a graphic to that soon, so be on the lookout. And yeah, and as always, guys, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Share with a friend, share it on Twitter. Let we're just trying to be more visible out there, you know. And as always, spoiler alert ahead. Well, enough with the introductions. Chris, episode 4, Moon Knight. What'd you think?
Um, it was good. I enjoyed it a lot. It was just one long trip. Also, I had Bree at the end of the episode going, "I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand the whole time she's saying that. I'm like, I don't think we're supposed to know, babe. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It's okay." But she
Yeah,
was freaking
it was
out.
definitely, yeah. I mean, again, the thing is, like always said, and I always talk about this, but Marvel does a thing where they credit people who already know the lore and informations about Moon Knight. So,
That's what I thought it
yeah,
was going to be. I was like, it's
hmm
probably some mind prison that Alan knows about, and I'll talk to him about
yeah.
it.
So there's definitely, well, tell Bree, she could watch this episode of Debrief, and
That's what
then
I'm
she'll
saying.
get, I will debrief it.
Shout out
Or
to also our new subscribers real quick because last night I did a plug. Somebody was like, "Oh," somebody at my job was like, "Anybody watching Moon Knight?" I said, "Yeah, you can hear me and my buddy talk about it on our podcast." And everybody's like, "Oh," and then people started.
that, yes, that is. Thank you guys for your support. As always, we do appreciate it. Any support that we get, we do appreciate.
hmm
So
But overall, yeah, that episode was awesome. Realized that I just kind of want another treasure hunt movie in Egypt. So going through the tomb and everything, I was just like, man, why can't this be a full just movie?
full on movie.
Yeah.
We are going to get to that point where, like, a lot of these TV shows, and they do feel like movies, right? Because this does feel like we've been on this huge expedition,
hmm
like trying to. Because I think this show, what it's doing really well, especially now we're in our 4th episode, 2 more episodes left after this, is that it very well has integrated the mythology of something that a lot of people don't know, like the Egyptian mythology and all that, and they've integrated it with its storyline really well. So, like, you're learning about new Egyptian gods, you're learning about, like, artifacts and all this stuff, and it's very detailed in the information that they give you. Also, it's not like, oh, here's this. I mean, and like I said, we'll talk about it later, but like just discovering the tomb and who was in it, and like it all started to piece together, and I thought that was really cool. I mean, we started this episode, obviously, Layla and Mark just going through it
hmm
because it's just at this point, he was Steven. I mean, at this point they're just like, yo, like, we need to find this tomb as soon as we can. They're probably already there, and we just have all these things going on. So it's very, and you could see Layla struggle in trying to, like, how much she, like, she does still care for Mark, but she's also falling for Steven. So, like, you know
And
what I mean?
Steven's
And
out here
Steven,
living his best life. He was just
I
like,
know.
"Oh my god, I'm in this tomb." Like,
Well,
he forgets.
Steven's literally living the dream that
Yeah.
he would want, right?
Yeah.
Because he's now attracted and falling for a woman who's just as deeply knowledgeable, like, with all the artifacts and all this stuff. He's like exploring this tomb, which,
hmm
he already knows, like, all this information, and seeing these cool Egyptian artifacts and all that stuff. And then, yeah, so he's living his best life. And obviously Mark is like, listen, you better not touch my wife. Like, you know what I mean? Because even though it's the same body, it's so funny because again, Oscar Isaac just portraying both roles so perfectly, because it's like, I believed, like, you at this point, you 100% believe that they're just two separate people, right? And then, like, you can even see by the interactions. And I think the credit to the characters also, like Layla, because Layla is showing you, like, she, even the way that she reacts towards the different characters, right? Like she doesn't react to Steven the same way that she reacts to Mark. And that could be difficult when you have the same when you're, when the same person, when you're acting with the same person. So that's a credit to her too. She's just been like really playing that role really well. And yeah, man, we got a lot of information in this episode. Again, like when he was when uh, gosh, when Steven goes into the tomb and he just starts naming like everyone who's in there, like the first tomb of the pharaohs. Again, we got the big reveal finally of what happened with Mark and Layla and all that
And it
going
was
on
comic
after.
accurate, right? He witnessed
Huh?
it. He didn't actually.
Yes,
Okay.
he witnessed it. So in this, they're saying he witnesses after she has that whole conversation with Haro, which was a great scene, by the way, which was horror filled. I thought that whole scene that they did in the middle there, where it's just like with that, with that, I don't even know what to call it at this point, but like
Dude.
zombie Egyptian.
It was just like one. I was sitting there thinking, okay, I've said this so many times. I don't like horror films, but
Mm,
this, like, even though it's not like, oh my god, I'm terrified. I like the creepy aspect. Like
yeah.
this is the level I like. I went to my thought immediately went to um Last of Us whenever they're on the
Mhm.
table and you hear the clicking, and I was like, ooh, and even Bree
Yeah.
thought about Last of Us, and
Yeah. The clickers. Oh
yeah,
gosh.
so whenever she's climbing on the rock and I saw the crack and I was like, oh no 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 no,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
No. No.
whenever you see
No.
the
No.
fingers come out, Bree was just like, I can't do
Yeah.
this. So
It was
it
such a
was,
fantastic
yeah, it's
scene,
a great
and
scene.
yeah, me and Chase Seaport, for you guys who follow the regular show, he's usually in the chat. Shout out to him. We were talking about this, and we were talking about because he is a horror fan and I am a horror fan. So if we talk about like if you guys ever watched The Descent, it very much pulled from The Descent. So it had like that very like because The Descent, they go into a cave
Hmm.
essentially, and then all these creatures show up. Really good movie to watch if you're a horror fan. And it had very much those vibes, right? Because like as she's trying to like escape, she's like on this cliff, and then like the zombie essentially like comes out and just making noise, and then they have that really cool fight scene which I thought was shot really well. She kind of does like my only issue with her with what she did was she did that whole fight scene. She's like epic, and I know they did it just to have the shot, and which is why I'm saying that they're very much like fans of The Descent because it was a similar shot. But like, why didn't she just do the classic like kick over? Like,
Oh,
why did
over
she
her
like
head,
throw her
yeah,
body
and
over?
then
Like you know what I
yeah
mean?
yeah.
Like, first of all, you don't really like you've been doing this fight where you're struggling to fight this dude. You're telling me now that the body weight of this dude didn't drag you off and you were able to grab that fast enough? I don't know. It's a bit like, look, I love Layla. I think she's an awesome character, but we're kind of pushing her strength boundaries here for her to be able to flip a dude over while her momentum is over there.
Yeah.
But it's a comic book movie. Hey, it is what it is. I mean, comic book show. It is what it is. It was still a cool shot, but then Horo basically explains to her, like saying, "Oh, you did great there on how you handled it and stuff like that." And she's just, talking about how men like him are being condescending. He finally tells her the story of. It obviously leaves out details so that we can get that dramatic moments and stuff like that. So where Layla would just be like, "You knew," finds Mark, finds at the time Steven, and then he's like, Steven was going through that whole scene where he discovers who's in the tomb and who's the voice, was, which Alexander the Great, which I thought was awesome because like he was saying what language it was written in and like it wasn't written in like hieroglyphics and just picking up all on that and then
That was
having
so
to do
cool
that
to see
scene with
too.
the
Yeah.
he's like, sorry Mr. Great, like because he had to
And this is
you
what I like
know,
too. Yeah, because of
mm,
that, it's just like because of how untrustworthy everything has been so far, you're expecting like they linger in that
mhm,
moment for a while. I'm like, this thing's gonna like it's gonna. I'm fully expecting it to get up like as he
mhm.
has his
Yeah,
hand in its mouth or
like I
something.
I thought it might have bit
Yeah, I
him
was
or
like
something like
thinking by it,
that.
I was like, something's gonna happen
Yeah.
here. But yeah, nothing did, and it just kept you on. It was just another act of like, what? We might do
Mhm.
something, but we're not. It was like I said, the whole treasure hunting aspect of it was so dope, and even having the funny, like, classic Marvel having the funny moment of like, all right, I'm about to push this thing open.
Yeah.
And then he's like, everything in me is telling me
Yeah.
not to. And it's
Not to
like,
do this. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, they're just saying like, okay, this is how the audience is feeling. We're just going to bring it up in total.
Hmm.
And I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It was fantastic. So that whole scene goes by, and then we do that, and then obviously Layla sees him, and then obviously with this new information is upset, and and then the funny moment that they did do even in a serious thing was when she's like, can he hear me? And he's like, who? Alexander? I don't think he can hear us.
He's like, I hope
And
not.
like, I hope. And then like Mark obviously takes over. And then has that whole conversation, which, like I said, it was pretty much pulled from the comic book. Layla's character is based off of one of the comic book characters. She's just not named Layla. And then they basically talk about Mark's also how when he died, so which is pulled directly from the comic book. When Mark does die, Khonshu does save him. So that's like pretty much giving you the backstory without giving you the backstory. So I and that's what I said would happen. Remember, and if you guys heard last episode, I was pretty much saying that they at some point they will explain exactly why Mark became, and then he said his partner shot him, which should be interesting because obviously when that stuff happens, his partner's probably not dead, and then we might see something later on. Who knows, right? So I thought all that was cool. Haro walks in, obviously, and then my next question, my next issue with this is like Haro comes in, right, and I don't understand, like, and I know why we're doing it. It's for TV, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when you try to, I want them to be able to do these scenes better. That makes a little bit more logical sense. Okay, why didn't he run? That's one, right? I understand you're saying, oh well, Layla escaped. Like I was trying to distract us so that he doesn't chase Layla also, right? But you have the artifact, and you know that you guys could probably maneuver better than he can, and you would be putting them in a wedge. It's not like Layla can't fight,
Hmm.
so like why wouldn't you just like put them in like a vacuum so you could take them out easier? And then if Haro decides to do something crazy, it would be later on after you're already like deeper out of the tube, right? And then so whatever. Mark decides, you know what? I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna have this axe. I'm gonna fight. Why don't you attack Haro first? Why does like you
Well,
know what I
not
mean?
just
Like,
that. My thought process was like when those two guys come up, right? And I knew he was gonna attack the two gunmen. I'm
yeah.
thinking like classic like spy movie, like
Hmm.
hatchet, right? Grab this guy that has an AK
Yeah.
on his sling, use him as body armor, and mow down people. Because
Yeah.
that I feel like we've seen that happen so many times
I just
in the
don't
Marvel
like,
universe.
and I would
But
be
I get
okay
it.
with, yeah, I would be okay with the scene if like obviously he doesn't get Haro, right? But
Hmm.
I do want to show them like some effort on why he wasn't able to get him. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe he does something cool or Haro goes to the back, but you can't tell me Haro was within the vicinity and you didn't try to attack him. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. It like, and I wish the little scenes like that were done better, but whatever. We do find out Haro shoots him twice. Then he goes into the water, falls down, which Haro clearly doesn't know he has the statue or who has the statue, because if he did, he would have asked for it.
Hmm.
But I don't think he knows, which was good because Haro doesn't know about the statue. He just knows that that's the tomb, and he's going to assume that Alexander's body is,
Is like
you
he's
know,
supposed to resurrect
it
the body. Yeah.
is the resurrected body. So we'll see what happens there. He gets shot, and then we get to the psych scene, which is a direct pull from Moon Knight, written in 2016 by Jeff Lemire, which is what a lot of this is based off of. If you guys want to read it, please read it. But this is a direct pull from this. It starts off with Mark inside of a psych ward, and he then he comes out, and then he starts fighting as Moon Knight. So this is pretty much where I thought it was cool because like now we're going to that scene where I think we're going to, once Amit comes out and stuff like that, we're going to start getting into this like storyline, and this is going to be pretty much where we're at with Moon Knight. So I think if you guys do want, it's definitely worth checking out. I thought that scene was amazing because it was like everyone who was in his life, and it also they did such a great job because it makes you think like, has he been like dreaming this the
Bro,
whole
that's what I'm
time?
saying.
Like,
Me and Bree were looking at
yeah,
each other. I was like, hold on. I was like,
yeah,
this guy
and
just he's just
go
out
ahead.
of it, and like it's one of those moments where it's just like the doctor's the bad guy and all this other
Mhm.
stuff, and he's just portraying because like like what got me was the one also love that whenever they watch the old like what was it called, Treasure,
Mhm.
it was a play off of Tomb Raider, I think it
Yeah,
was, yeah,
it was
but
like Lost Raider,
yeah,
not
something
Lost,
like that. It
something like
was,
that.
but that movie, I like whenever
Mhm.
they change the screen size, whenever the
Yeah,
screen size shortened. I was like, okay, yes, I
yeah,
love this. And then whenever I heard, oh, I'm Steven, blah blah blah, I was like,
mhm.
hold on.
Yeah.
And then I saw the second
No,
one. I was like, no, don't do this to me.
yeah. It
So
was perfect because again, it made you feel like maybe this was a dream the whole time.
yeah,
Like I love that everyone was like, because he's been playing the crazy so well that at this point you're just like, dude, seriously, like has he been really dreaming this the whole time? Has he been in here the whole time? And then you start seeing the characters that he's interact with, and then it starts making sense to you because you're like, damn, he did interact with that. He interacted with the statue guy who's Crawley, who's also in the comic book. And then, all of the stuff starts coming out. He sees
yeah,
Layla again. He sees the dude from he sees pretty much they do all the references. Like you see the Rubik's Cube that he saw in issue one, I mean in episode one. Then you see the detective agents, like everyone's pretty much caught up. You see what's her name? Donna.
yeah.
The so you're just like, yo, what is going on here? Like, who are all these people? You even like it's just it was one of those scenes where it's like it's pretty crazy. If you could see the fish, Gus was there. So you're like, bro, he's just tripping. Like there's
Yeah,
got to
that's.
be
I
a
was
lie.
like, I was,
Like,
and they gave you just enough. They just keep
mhm,
at like, you know, um, just to reassure you because you have. It's crazy the timing. Timing is
mhm,
everything in these things, man. And it's crazy that I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, no, no, this is a dream, and
yeah,
then they keep adding that character, like them introducing the character slowly to
mhm,
slowly get you there of like, nope, this is really happening. Like this is
yeah,
a really a thing, and then you're going, and then they hit you with the, they put him in the doctor's office, and you see
yeah,
Haro, and then that just kind of connects
yeah,
all the pieces, and you're like, oh my god, this is a dream, and then it
yeah,
immediately takes you back out of it. And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
So,
They did such a good job, like I
oh
said, at just building that intention that oh maybe this person is a real like maybe this is just he's really crazy. Which
yeah,
again you have no evidence that proves he's not right. Like there's no evidence saying that all of this couldn't be a dream because it would make sense. You do see him with a lot of the details that they put in the show. Like for instance, when he has his foot caught, like he has one foot just like he did
yep,
at back home. So like you see Layla, you see all these characters, and you're like, bro, there's no way. I was like, at first you're like, there's no way he's been dreaming this the whole time. But there's also that other part of you that's like, this could have totally been a dream this whole time, and I have no way of proving that it's not. I then obviously we're starting to get some information. He, sees Haro. Haro's trying to take care of him, tell him like, calm down, it's okay, like, and then he runs out, starts seeing all these cool like, Egyptian things going on.
and that's when it
Uh
starts.
yeah,
Yeah, that's when you're like, okay,
then
yeah,
it
no,
starts to
we're
set in, and then he sees someone, being shaken, like he sees a tomb being shaken, and then finally he opens it up, and then he finds out that it's Steven. They embrace, which meaning like as much even, and I thought that embrace was really cool, just for the simple fact like it was so much of a relief to Mark,
hmm
but it also shows that he's growing this an affection for the Steven character, right?
yeah.
So like even that like just being embraced and being like, yo, like this is happening. And then he asked him, he was like, hey, what's the last thing you remember? He's like, Haro shot us. He was like, yes, thank God.
Yeah, just to make
Like
sure I'm
I'm
not
not,
crazy.
yeah,
Like let's go through this.
yeah.
Yeah,
It gives him that whole what you call it, that whole it gives
reassurance.
him that that whole reinsurance saying, okay, cool, I'm not crazy. Then we see both of them walking around. Then we see another tomb,
Yeah.
and then we're still teasing it. They don't want us to know it yet. He is definitely in. Even I thought it was so cool because they put it in a more what feels like it's a more violent like tomb, right? Like
Yeah.
when you look at it, you're kind of like, bro, who's in there? Like, how crazy is the person that's in there? And I think that's awesome because like it felt that way. So I think it was cool that they separated them, how they showed those characters being in tombs, being trapped in the same mind. I thought that was awesome. Uh we at some point, I mean, it's it's episode 4 at this point. So I mean, there's no way we don't see the third personality, right? So we're already getting all of these you know references that it's there. We can confirm now, if you didn't believe it before, that there is a third personality. And again, like I said, I'm not going to do the spoilers. I'm just going to wait, and then we'll get there once we get there, and then we'll talk about it. Then obviously we see Mark, Mark and Steve keep walking, and then they are met by a hippo, a pharaoh hippo, which is, if you guys know about Egyptian lore, it is. I'm probably going to say the name wrong, but it's to again. These are those words where you've read them and you've pronounced them so long in your head for one way, and then you try to listen to the way it's pronounced, and it's not. But it's Tawaret. She is the goddess of she is the goddess of childbirth and the protector of women and children in Egyptian lore and mythology. So that's who you see. Also, it's just funny to me, like as a person who does know about, like, I love like all gods of other cultures, and I think it's so cool. It's funny to me when you see, if I didn't know who she, like, that it was a she, or that it was like what she did, and to hear the voice after you've seen this hippo goddess, and you're just like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? I would have totally had the same exact reaction that Mark and Steven had.
Oh, them screaming was like the perfect. I as soon as I
Yeah,
started screaming too, and it was a long scream, I was like, oh, they're gonna
yeah,
end it here, and then credits.
yeah.
That's what's
Of
so
course.
cool about the show is that I lose all sense of time. So
Mhm.
whenever it ends, I'm like, dang, we're already at the end. Dang it!
Yeah.
Like,
And it's crazy because when you think about it, like, these have legit, every episode has been an hour,
yeah,
at least like 50 minutes. So for them to keep you, like you said, entertained, and just keep you like, it's, and again, it goes to a credit to everyone on that team, like direction, Oscar Isaac, and like they're doing a really good job at just keeping it, you drawn in, right? Like, even though you're not seeing fighting, like, you didn't see, there was no fighting in this scene, like, no Moon
oh yeah, you're
Knight
right.
in
Yeah,
the scene, like, there was nothing. And even then, I mean, there was fighting with the mummy, but like there wasn't, like, you know what I mean? You didn't see Moon Knight fight at all. And I haven't seen anyone complain about that, which is like a polar opposite of what we're, when we talk about Halo when we get there. But I'm just saying, like, think about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just goes to show, you don't necessarily, like, as long as you have a good story and people can, understand and grasp that story, and you're just giving people information enough, like, you can make a show where you don't even have to really focus on having that character fight all the time. And I think that's a credit to everyone on the staff. Also, if you guys remember in episode 1, I did say that, like, when I she was she the goddess was actually foreshadowed. If you guys remember in the Photoshop, in the gift shop, she was actually the hippo goddess.
hmm
She was in one of the gift shops, like there was just like a basket full of hippos, and she was foreshadowed in there. And that's when I knew she was going to be in the show. So
nice.
that's why, like, it wasn't like too crazy for me, because I was like, yeah, I know it. But again, it's better for you guys to get those surprises. I think it's pretty cool. So overall, though, I thought the episode was great. I like I said, I haven't there hasn't been an episode for me that I haven't enjoyed. I think they all, the way that the pacing of the story is going, I think is fantastic. The way that the story is being told is perfect. I think we're getting just enough of, like, all the personalities, enough Moon Knight. Like, I just don't feel cheated by anything. Like, I feel all the side characters are solid. You have a great villain, and I think that's what this show is doing really well.
Yeah.
So, but all right, before we go, we're always going to do it the same way. What was your favorite part of this episode?
Man, the going back to Layla climbing the ledge, and that whole
Hmm.
fight, that whole scene in general
Yeah.
was my favorite. Even like the moment that Haro can't get to her. I mean, he could have shot her now that we realize that, but it's like chess to him. He's playing that game of like, you know what? Let me get them to tear each other apart. first. And
But he didn't have the gun yet, because remember, he
no.
pulls the gun from the back of the back of that dude.
Oh, that makes sense.
Remember?
Okay, I
Yeah.
don't
Mhm.
remember
Yeah.
seeing like him actually move there.
Yeah.
But yeah, him having that conversation with her and trying to get to her and her being strong, like, are you done? Like,
Mhm.
you're not getting to me. This isn't
Yeah.
happening.
At
Even though
least
it
not
does.
showing that
Yeah.
he's having an effect on her.
Yeah. And then me
Yeah.
stressing out later on, and she's just like, you need to tell me. And he's like, we need to go. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you're the whole reason this man got shot. Come on now. But anyway, but yeah, that cliff moment is my favorite.
Me too. And mine is different. It's a lot of what you said, but it's also because it was it was just a nice homage to The Descent. And if you, like I said, as a horror fan, I love when TV shows and movies pull from horror, because I feel like horror is like my favorite genre, because I feel like when horror is done properly, there's nothing better, because you go through all the emotions, you go through the fear, you go through the excitement when the person finally gets it, like goes over that obstacle that they're facing. I think it's so much detail can go into a horror movie. And I do know, I that's not to say that we don't get a crap ton of bad ones because of the budget. It's the easiest movies to make, so that give you the highest reward. But when it's done correctly, and this scene was a perfect example, like, you're just on the edge of your seat. You're just like, you want her to make it out. Like, you care so much for the character making it out of that situation. And I think that's why horror works so well. And for that scene in particular, it worked perfectly. So that'd be my favorite scene. And that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. Thank you for joining us. As always, we will be here next week for you guys to do the next episode. We only have 2 episodes left of the show, which is going to be sad because, and once it's gone, we have to wait till June to get some more Marvel. Well, May
Marvel?
for the movie.
Well, Miss
Miss Marvel.
Okay, but yeah, based on the movie.
For Marvel TV, we'll have to wait till June. We will have, obviously, Doctor Strange. So there's no way we're not doing that. And then, but we will still have Halo for you guys every week. We have 2 more episodes of this, and then Obi-Wan does come out too. So we're still gonna have the content. Don't worry, guys. We will be providing that. And also, if you guys haven't check out our live show that we did on Tuesday, where we got our second live show together. So if you guys haven't seen that yet, sorry, lose my voice. Go check that out. And like I said, guys, thank you so much for the support. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you guys thought about the episode. Also, we love to see what you guys have to say. And if you guys comment, we can put it on the show. Like, we could put it towards the end here and show what and Chris and I will talk about your comments also, if we agree and stuff like that. Yeah, doing some little stuff. So thank you guys again. That's going to be it for us this week. Until next time, Fire Team out.